The best students know how to effectively destroy exams. They do so many practice papers that it leaves you in shock. They barely have any notes, but they have the same pattern of destroying exams again and again and again. All the time, their stack of practice papers are higher than your stack of notes. Practice papers are also more detailed, going through the same topic once, twice, or even three times during the same exam. What differentiates you then from this kind of student? First, I'm going to explain to you why you study the way you do. Excuse me. Ever since we were young, we were always told to study, but we never really knew how to study. We followed what the people around us did, and we thought that was correct. Things like looking at your notes, highlighting the important keywords, writing down important parts of the chapter on a little gay notebook that we have. And we think that that was how we were supposed to effectively study. Not that that is wrong. It might have worked for a period of time. But as the knowledge we learned got more and more difficult, there comes a point where the methods we use to learn will just not be effective anymore. But even as we grow older, we continue with the study methods that were never effective. And we carry it on through higher levels of learning. And we keep getting told that this is the correct way to learn. Countless teachers in your school would have told you to highlight the important keywords. If not, you will forget it. And all of you listen. There is a very big movement of brainwashing the ineffective study methods just because these are the things that we have practiced our whole life. And just because we have done that doesn't mean it is effective. Most recent studies show that applying practice and doing questions is how we actually learn. Most of us think that to do tests or to do questions, we have to study first. But it's actually doing the questions itself is a form of learning. That is a form of learning. And we always compare ourselves to other people when it comes to studying or results. And this is why we reinforce bad habits. And this is why it is extremely difficult to be able to learn the correct, effective study methods because of how ingrained the wrong study methods are. It, the wrong study methods are so ingrained in us already. That is why it's very important to be vigilant on the effectiveness of our study methods and how we are going to now change them starting with this video. But why is it ineffective? What is wrong with highlighting or reading notes? Well, this is all very passive. It's very easy to take out your book, highlight the important keywords, and be like, yes, I understand what's going on. And just calling it a day after 1 or 2 hours. Or maybe even 4 or 5 hours of just sorry, highlighting the important words and thinking that that is enough. The truth is, that is not enough. Let me give you an analogy. What would you say to the fat guy who wanted to go to the gym and spends all his time researching on the most effective exercises to build his chest or to build his shoulders, but he only goes to the gym like once every 2 weeks? Yes, sure, he knows the most effective exercise, but when he goes to the gym and he tries out that exercise, he injures his joints because he hasn't practiced the correct form enough. And not only that, he will not see results from just going to the gym once in 2 weeks or even 3 weeks. You say to him, bro, go more times. Go more times throughout the week and you'll see better results. When you practice the exercise more and more, you get more used to it and your whole exercising experience will be more comfortable. But why is it that when it comes to studying, this sort of common sense goes away? And instead of being good at being good at exams by practicing exams, we go to our textbook, we go to our notes and highlight everything, make notes of everything, and don't do the practice papers. It is the same thing. And this is the reason why our current study methods are always going to be ineffective. And we need better study methods that mimic what we are going to do during the exam. So how do the top students study? Since I've been shitting on highlighting and reading notes, rereading notes, what is the best way to study? Well, the best way to study is to do the thing we want to get good at, which is exam papers. When it comes to subjects like math or science or things that require you to memorize stuff and apply that in a problem, uh, this process is called problem solving. We need to solve problems to be able to get better at solving problems. We need to actively do questions. And this is definitely what the top students do. You might think, well, I already do a lot of questions. But the thing is, you don't mimic exactly what the exam paper will test you unless you do a whole lot of practice papers. Then, in that case, that will be one of the correct study methods that I employ you to use. In one of the modules in my course, I have a module called Count from the Back. This basically means that whenever you get your test score, you should count it from the back. This is something that top students do. But why? It is because when you count from the back and you actively see your mistakes instead of seeing what you got correct, you will know where your weaknesses are. And you will know exactly which skills that the exam paper is testing you that you are weak at. For example, there could be a question on a certain topic and you got 4 out of 5 of them correct. Don't look at the 4 out of 5 of them. You should look at the 1 out of 5 of them. That is the skill that you got wrong. And that should be what you should be focusing on and putting a greater emphasis on. That is how you would ultimately get higher results in your exams. So always remember, count or analyze from the back. That is one of the methods that top students use. And if you want a more detailed way on how you can actually apply this to every exam paper that you have, just know that it's one of the modules in my course below. Well, you might ask, if these ways of studying is so much more efficient and effective, why is no one else using them? Well, the truth is that no one really knows their weaknesses. When it comes to such a big subject like math or physics or biology or whatever the subject may be, no one really knows their weaknesses. Yeah, they can have a sensing of what chapters they are scared of, but that would just make them avoid the chapter or even the subject entirely. If they are not specific about what their weaknesses are, they will never want to use the most effective study methods to be able to curb their weaknesses. Studying with the most effective and efficient study methods is as painful as exercising. It is as painful as going to run on like Saturday morning and giving it your best. Effective studying is extremely painful, but it saves your time. You should want a situation where you study less, but you feel more pain when you're studying, because that shows that you're learning more. But at the end of the day, the pain should be coming from the mental fatigue that more effective study methods have rather than more passive ways of learning, like rereading your notes or just simply copying a friend's answers on a given piece of homework. More effective study methods are really the only way you can improve because they are the way you are going to minimize the amount of mistakes that you make in the exam from the earlier strategy that I said about counting from the back. This is the only way you're going to minimize those mistakes that you keep making. But why does putting in more effort save time? Well, it is because you learn more when you are feeling more mental fatigue from having more effective study methods. Having more fruitful study sessions is how you're going to save more time because you'll need less of those study sessions to be able to cover a whole subject or topic. And this is the reason why top students score a lot. Because not only they come from the back, but they also have effective study methods to be able to make their brain go through as much fatigue as possible during a certain study session. And this allows them to learn more than the average person who might even spend more time studying than them. The reason this allows you to do more is because you can be even more specific in what you want to learn. When you have effective study methods, you are able to pinpoint and be specific about what you're lacking in a certain topic or subject. And this will allow you to be able to go through more pain with that topic and ultimately be able to overcome them and even allow them to become your strength during the exam. And this is why having more fruitful study sessions will allow you to do much more than what you currently can. Because if everything becomes your strength, then the amount of weaknesses you have will become much lower. And this will ultimately make you more like how the top student thinks during the exam. But you might ask, is this way of studying and approaching work and being so focused in every session useful in your future career or the future path you want to take in life? Well, my answer would be definitely yes. Because if you have a way to make your work sessions or study sessions more efficient and effective, you will be able to pump more value into the world. Let's say you're a boss of a company. Would you want to hire the guy who spends more time working but produces less stuff, or the guy who works less and you notice that he works less but he's able to pump out more value for the company? Of course, you would hire the second guy, right? Because he's more efficient, and you might not even mind letting him have like more holidays because he's able to produce more output in the given time that you gave him to work. And let's say you don't really want to work in a job. This is also useful for your own personal development because if you're able to be more efficient and effective in whatever you want to learn, that is basically like a hack. And this is what I hope for you, and this is what I know will get you to become a top student in whatever exam that you have. And if you want to learn more in depth on how to get study methods that are more efficient and effective, you can check out my course in the description below. Cheers.